They don't want you to know that they don't get it, because honestly, in some cases, it's embarrassing. And so they're going to be reluctant to ask for clarifying questions, because that reveals that they didn't get it. They're going to try to pretend that they did get it, just so you will stop talking. Why would they want to continue that conversation that their anxiety is already up here? It's like, I already got my one foot in the fire. Let me go ahead and put the other foot in now. When you're speaking from your highly social and emotionally intelligent brain, he's only picking up on little snippets here and there of it. And so, just like Susan suggested, he's not going to be able to come up with a very intelligent question, because he didn't really, he doesn't know enough. He didn't get enough data points right in what your delivery was about to even concoct a question. I think it's twofold. I think it's what Susan was saying. He's just missing a bunch of pieces, and he's not even really going to know what kind of a good question to ask. And also, for him to start asking inquiring questions by default prolongs the conversation that he's already stressed out about. By the way, the ASD brain is a very visual learner in a verbal world. So I'm sorry, in a very verbal world, and also with written language. So they think not in words, whether they're spoken or written. They think in pictures mostly. And so, even though this isn't answering your question directly, one of the things that you can do, given that they're a visual person, and the spoken word and the written word does not register really well with them, I often promote the idea of using analogies that are have a lot of imagery to them. And I'm just going to give you I think what I'm getting ready to tell you now would be a better method than writing it down. So I'm just going to make up an example so you know what the hell I'm talking about. So this is a verbal message that you're going to deliver, but it still has a lot of imagery to it. And since he thinks in pictures, he's going to be able to get this much better than just words. So I'm just going to make something off the top of my head here. We're going to run with the idea of emotional reciprocity, and in this case, the lack thereof. And so I'm going to set up a situation where you're going to use an analogy. So the background is you want to, and I'm going to keep this real simple. You want to convey to him that, for example, him stopping what he's doing when you're trying to talk to him, putting his phone down, turning the TV down, getting off his computer, whatever it is, when you're talking about something even remotely important, it would be helpful he were to stop what he's doing and kind of look in your direction and maybe nod that he's listening, so that you will at least feel like you're not just a fly on the wall or a potted plant over there in the corner whose thoughts and feelings and words are not important. So we'll pretend like that's the message. And your spoken message would be, I'm going to make up a name here, Harold. It would really be helpful. I've been talking to you for the last 5 minutes, and you're over there cooking, and I feel like I'm talking to myself over here. I don't feel like you're paying attention, and so, am I that unimportant to you that you just hear me talking over there, and you know that I'm talking, but you don't have any interest in what I'm saying? That would be an example of the old method that would just download in his brain as being critical and being chastised. But there's a good message in there. The message is, I would like some emotional reciprocity, and one of the simplest forms of that, not that there's just one form, but one of the simplest ways to give me some emotional reciprocity would be to at least respond to me when I'm talking to you. Give and take. How about some give and take in conversation? So that's the good message. So now, to run with our deal of an analogy and to speak to his picture brain, you could say, Harold, I'm going to run an analogy by you so you can understand my point. You're basically going to just come up with a fictional story. Okay, so there was this little child accidentally got locked outside in the rain. The parents didn't realize. They weren't being neglectful or anything. They just didn't realize that one of them had shut the door, and the door locks automatically. They didn't realize that the child was outside, and that now it's raining. And so the child is over there screaming at mom and dad to let her in. She's getting soaked out there in the rain, and she's pounding on the door. And her parents are at the other end of the house, not anywhere near the door, watching TV. And this child is pounding. Mom, Dad, hello. I'm outside, locked outside in the rain. Hello. I need some help here. And the parents look at one another and go, did you hear some knocking on the door? I don't know. Maybe it was on the TV. I don't know. I guess somebody. Do you think we should go see? Okay, I'll go. And then somebody decides to get up and they go to the other end of the house and oh my God, we locked her out and now she's drenched. So Harold, the little girl that was out there feeling abandoned, that's me. That's me. I'm knocking. I'm basically begging for attention. And I'm locked out. So that, I know it's a little melodramatic, but that would be one example, Barbara, of an analogy that gets your message across without the usual wordage that downloads in his brain as I'm dumb and I get chastised for being dumb. So you're not blaming him for doing something wrong. You didn't come right out and say, well, you never listen to me. Or why don't you stop what you're doing every once in a while and just look my direction so I can at least get the feeling, that something I'm saying, that why don't you give me some give and take in your life? Why don't you respond to what I say? All of that type of talk is going to get you nowhere. You already know that. But with this analogy, and he's following along in his brain with these images that you're painting. And then I find in most cases they get it and they go, oh, because now they think, okay, whenever they think of you over there talking and him over here not responding, not engaging in give and take at all, he hears you, but it's just blah, 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 blah. He has no idea what you're saying. If you use this analogy that I just used, or you come up with your own, probably a better one, he will have that as an anchor. He'll think, oh yeah, the little girl that's locked outside in the rain, I'm doing that again. And so in this way, he would hopefully, I'm sure he's not a sociopath. He's not a robot or an automaton with no feelings. If you can make that connection, but he will get that connection that when I don't pay attention to her, she feels abandoned and neglected.
Hey, this is Mark Hutten. Would you like to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call? Okay, it's so simple. Just look under any of my videos in the description area. Click on this Calendly link. Now you see my calendar. Pick your month, your day, anytime that's available. Enter your name and email address. Then you'll get a follow-up email with the Zoom link on the day and time that you picked. And voila, we will talk.